A key question many firms are struggling with is the question of marketing return on investment. Assume you are Air France and you have $50 million to invest, and you have to choose between investing them into either improving all the seats in all your planes or making a new advertising campaign in which you position your company as environmentally friendly, or improving your loyalty program. How should you choose? It is very, very hard for firms to take these decisions because any form of marketing action can impact all sorts of things. And it is not always easy to find the relevant measure based on which all of these things can be compared. But if you go back to the logic of why we do CRM and why we do marketing, the logic is we do CRM in order to create customer equity. So you remember this slide from session 2, where I explained to you that CLV is a function of size of wallet and share of wallet, which multiplied together give recurring revenues. And if you take away the recurring costs from the recurring revenues, you come to the contribution margin. And if you discount this over the lifetime, you get to a lifetime profit. If you take away the acquisition cost, you come to the CLV. And if you sum the CLV of all the customers you have, you come to the customer equity. So a very intuitive way to think about the question of marketing return on investment is to ask, how does marketing change customer equity? So which of these three actions, changing the seats, changing the advertising, or changing the loyalty program, would ultimately lead to higher customer equity for Air France? Well, if you look at the graph, there are three key levers that we as marketing can use: size of wallet, share of wallet, and customer lifetime. It is very hard for marketing to change the size of wallet because this implies that you have to change very fundamentally the way your customers consume. You need to convince people to spend more money on travel in general, for example, by moving into a smaller apartment. And while this is possible, look at governments who try to change fundamental behavior by discouraging smoking or discouraging alcohol use. It is very hard and long-term. Of course, marketing can change customer lifetime. Every form of loyalty program is targeted towards this, but any change in customer lifetime only occurs at some point in future. If you extend the lifetime from 2 years to 3 years, the benefit that you get is in 2 years from now. But what is a much easier and much more precise way to think is that marketing can change the share of wallet. So in the moment where you have decided to buy a plane ticket because you want to travel from Paris to New York, instead of picking Air France 40% of the time, you pick Air France 45% of the time. So the logic of a very, very influential article written by Roland Rust, Kay Lemon, and Valerie Zeitamel about 15 years ago in 2004 was to say, what happens if we assume that marketing actions change the share of wallet, and how can we translate this into a change in customer equity? So what drives share of wallet? Well, if you think about it, there are three main reasons why consumers choose certain brands: value, rational reasons, emotional reasons, and interpersonal reasons. In some cases, consumers choose a brand because it is the rational, better choice. If you look at an airline, you might have better seats, you might have better food, you might have cheaper prices or a more convenient schedule. All of these elements are called value-related drivers. They represent the sum of all rational reasons why you choose, and they create value equity for the firm. In other cases, we choose for more emotional reasons, because we like the brand, because the brand represents certain values that are important to us, because the brand cares about the environment and we care about the environment. All of these are brand-related drivers representing emotional reasons leading to brand equity. And in other cases, it might be about the relationship, because the way the brand treats us, the way the brand recognizes me as special. These are relationship-related drivers leading to interpersonal reasons and relationship equity. Marketing actions may impact one of these equities or multiple of these equities, but together the value, brand, and relationship equity lead to a change in share of wallet, and again to a change in CLV, and then a change in customer equity. So how do we determine how the different marketing actions that Air France has for their comparison impact customer equity and share of wallet? Well, as you remember from session 2, we can run a survey. We can ask a simple survey with 4 questions. Which of the following airlines did you most recently fly? Next time, which airline will you pick? When you fly, how much does a ticket cost? And on average, how often do you fly? And these 4 questions together allow us to calculate size and share of wallet. We have done exactly the same logic in session 2, just not using the example of airlines, but using the example of books. So I refer you to session 2 to the mathematics for this. This gives us, for every single customer that we ask the question to, an estimate of size and share of wallet. We can do this not only for my firm, for Air France, but also for all our competitors. The way we calculated a share of wallet in session 2 for Amazon, we could have calculated it for Barnes & Noble and Fnac as well. You do this for every single competitor, and that gives you an overall size of wallet, because the size of wallet is constant per customer, and tells you how the size of wallet splits along the main competitors. What we then need in a second step, we need to know how you evaluate the different companies in the market based on those value, brand, and relationship-related drivers. So we ask for a set of value-related drivers, how do you evaluate in a scale from 1 to 7 Lufthansa, Air France, and British Airways? Which specific value-related drivers are important depends on the industry we are in. They're very, very specific, so they need to be done in collaboration with whatever company you're doing this project with. For example, it can be related to the quality, to the price, or to the schedule of the airline where they fly. You do the same for brand-related drivers, advertising, corporate citizenship, sponsorship, and you do the same for relationship-related drivers. And once you have this information, the process is relatively simple. First, for each action you want to evaluate, you need to decide which of these drivers is impacted by that action. Take the example I gave you. Air France is thinking of investing money into getting better seats. Well, this is probably not relationship and not brand related, so it must be value related. And out of the 3 value related drivers that we have, better seat don't impact prices, they don't impact the network of the airline, so the only thing that can be impacted is the quality. So in step 1, you identify the driver impacted by the marketing action. You know how your customers currently evaluate your quality. Let's say 3.4 on a scale from 1 to 7. You need to guess how your customers will evaluate the quality after the change. And probably a reasonable assumption is that the average evaluation of quality moves up from 3.4 to 3.6 once we have invested money in our seats. So it moves up by 0.2 points. In the second step, you take the information from the survey. You take the first part of the questionnaire to calculate the share of wallet for each customer, and then you run a simple statistical analysis, most likely a regression, in order to link the value-related, brand-related, and relationship-related drivers to the share of wallet. So you want to find out how these different drivers impact share of wallet. Once you know this, you can calculate how much share of wallet will change once the driver goes up by 0.2 points. Because if you have a regression equation, it would be a logistic regression in this case, but that's a detail. If you have a regression equation, you can simply calculate how much the y variable, the dependent variable, changes when one of the independent variables changes by 0.2. If you have the new share of wallet, you can calculate the new CLV. And if you do this for everyone, you can calculate the new customer equity. And this tells you how much value is created by the specific marketing actions. This table out of the article of Rust, Leben, and Zeitaml, which you find here in the source, gives you an idea of what you can do with this. Take an airline that thinks about changing their passenger compartment. It costs them $70 million. It increases one driver by 0.2 points, which means if you do all these calculations, it increases customer equity by 1.4%, which is about 100 million. So you invest 70 million and you get 100 million. A company producing facial tissues does a new advertising campaign, costs $45 million, improves one driver by 0.3%. You get about 60 million in return for these 45 million. Another company does a new advertising campaign on corporate ethics, costs 50 million, creates 85 million. And a last company changes their loyalty program, costs 100,000 and generates 80,000. By comparing the amount of money that you need to invest and the absolute increase in customer equity that you can obtain, you can get a sense of whether the action is worth it or not, whether the action generates value or not, even before you conduct the action. Before I finish, I want to point out 2 last elements. First, the amount of data that you need in order to do this analysis is very limited because it's only data based on a survey. This, and this are survey questions you can ask to a random subset of people in the market. They do not require that you have a sophisticated CRM system. They do not require you to have any form of big data. And second, the statistical steps involved in doing the analysis are not simple, but they are not rocket science either. We talked about some details of this in session 2. And while the intricate details are more detailed, and I refer you to the article about this, it is not rocket science. So if you're thinking, go back to this slide, investing 70 million, 45 million, or 50 million, it probably makes sense to step back, take 2, 3, or 4 weeks to collect the data, to run the analysis, to get an assessment of what these actions likely would bring in terms of value creation.